Hey everybody, this is Gail, and this is Errata-Hate episode 26, and today we are making Victor's pining sweater. And you may be asking yourself, who the hell is Victor, and why does he have a pining sweater? Those are good questions. So there's an ice skating anime that I fell into called Yuri on Ice, and one of the main characters is named Viktor Nikiforov, and I apologize to any Russians watching this for how bad that sounded. And for about 5 seconds in one scene, he is wearing a blue and white striped sweater that I decided was necessary to have in my life. I actually have a number of costumes from the show that I'm going to be making that you'll see on this channel. And even if you're not a fan of the show or into cosplay, you know, it's still good construction work to practice, and hopefully will still give you ideas. So the first thing I had to do about the sweater was figure out what it looked like. So I made this chart, which we don't want to get super close on because I changed some of the numbers already. I forgot to tell my cameraman. And so this is a basic outline I came up with. So this is going to be a rectangle sweater. Yes, another one. So we're going to make it all in one big piece, and then we're going to add the sleeves, and we're going to do the collar detail. A couple of things about this design I noticed looking at the stills I had of it was that the neckline area, the white places actually get cut down by about half while the blue stays the same. And so what I'm working on right now is all of the space, all of the torso part up to that neck area on the front, and I can show it to you. So here's what I have. My hook is still in here. By the way, this is crochet thread, and this is a 175 hook. You don't have to do it in crochet thread. If you want to keep the stripes evenly distributed, you're going to want to do a 5-to-1 ratio. So for every 5 rows of the white you do, you're going to do, one of the blue stripe. I had to check my numbers. I would recommend not going bigger than sport weight yarn on this sweater, because then you're going to have your stripes are going to be pretty close together and you're going to be changing yarn a lot. But the other thing, as this is a rectangle sweater, what I did was I chained enough so that it goes around the whitest part of me, as you can see. And so when I sew it together, it should all fit around everything. And then the other thing I had to do was measure, because I needed to know how many stripe sets to make. And the way I measured was the sweater hits up near the top of the thigh. And I didn't mean to wear shorts that were exactly the right length. This just happened. By the way, if you want to make these shorts, that's episode 20. So from the thigh up to the hollow of the collarbone where it looks like the neckline actually hits, where that the collar comes in. So that's about 22.5 inches. I get 4.5 inches per stripe set. So that's the blue and white together. It's about 4.5 inches. So I am so this is 4.5. This will be 9. 9 and 4.5 is 13.5. And so I'm a little over halfway to that collar point I want to be. And so I'm going to keep working on these stripes, and then once I get to the point where the collar needs to be worked on, I will be back, because we will need to split the rectangle so that we work from both edges to come in to make the space for the collar. But until then, gather your courage and your tiny yarn, and we'll get this done.
We were born to make history.
Hey everybody, I have gotten the sweater to the point that I've done the underarm decreases, and I'll show you the image I'm using as reference in just a second again. As you can see, it kind of starts here, and then I sharpened it up to really kind of get what I hope will be a good edge to put that, put a sleeve into. I think it'll fit really nicely. As you can see, I've got it pinned a little lower than I was expecting. Looking at the image again, I realized that the neckline splits at about here. Maybe a little higher. It's kind of, I'm kind of winging it at this point. So this right here is, the stitch marker is to mark where I'm going to split the neckline. So I'm going to work from this edge, which will be my working edge, come over here in white to this point, count how many stitches, work this side, and then come over and do the same to this side. And let me show you real quick. I'm just going to carry you over with me. Please enjoy my beige carpet. So this is my reference image. And the thing that I noticed looking is that, so we're right here. We're right at the bottom of the collar. And now I need to split it and make sure that I keep these stripes showable on the front. I'm suddenly out of words. But the big thing, the two big things to notice about this point, this whole neckline point here, is this stripe is about half the size of this stripe, so this white stripe here. And so I'm going to do this as 10 rows, do a regular 5 rows of the blue because these stripes are maintaining the same size, and then do another 10 rows of the white, and probably during that 10 rows of the white, close off the back of that neckline. Because what it looks like is that it goes over the shoulder, and then I'm just going to repeat back the pattern of stripes I've been doing to create the back of the sweater. So I'm going to start working on the neckline, and I will show you that progress in a bit. I'll see you soon. Hey everybody, we're back. I wanted to show you my progress. So this is the shoulder piece that is made from splitting the collar, getting a bit of there we go. Splitting the collar here, and you'll notice the collar's got a bit of a V to it. I was concerned about my head and hair fitting through the collar, so this goes 40 stitches, and then I worked 5 rows even, and then I decreased 2 stitches for the next 5 rows, so a total of 10 stitches I took out. And I did the same thing over here, and it's not the most glamorous look, but the collar finishing will help mask some of that. And then the rest of it, let me get my pin out here. The rest of this is just worked even. So this is another row of 5. And then this is a row of 5, and I'm getting ready to put, it'll look like a strap that will go along the back from the shoulder to the other part of the shoulder for the neck hole, and I'm probably going to need to adjust so I have a few more stitches for the neck than I do right here. But that's going to be sort of an as-we-go thing to figure out. The other thing I wanted to show you, I forgot to mention exactly how I did these decreases yesterday. And so I started out, I did 3 rows even. I worked a single decrease on both sides. So I have one on this side, and then you come over here, and I have one on this side. So, and then I worked another 4 even, and then did the same, so it's 1 on each side. So you're taking 2 stitches per row right there. And then I worked, so I did that for rows 4 and 4, 8. I took 1 stitch out of each side, and then row 10, 12, 14, and 16, I took 2 rows. I took 4 stitches total out of the row, 2 on each side. And so that's what accounts for the sharper curve of the decrease. So like I said, my next step will be to get the neck on, and then I will have to, I cannot get a clear picture, my goodness. Get this neck on, and then the next thing I have to do is take everything I did here and reverse it so I can do the back of it. So once I get the neck fitted, I'll let you know. Hey everybody, we're back, and as you can see, we have a full neckline, neck hole, neck thing, I don't know. I'm super happy with it. It came out great. And as you can see, I've started back down the back, and so I'm just going to point out a few things to you. So first of all, this is the first row stack of 20 white rows on the back, which parallels to that last stack you did where we did all these decreases for the armhole. And so as you can see, I've done the increases for the armhole so that we're back to the same number of stitches at the bottom of the armhole as we had to begin with. And to do that, what I did was took the decrease rows and I just flipped them. So the last decrease was on row 16 on the front, and so I started at row 4 with my increases. And so it was 2 each side for row 4, row 6, row 8, and row 10. And then the great thing about once you hit row 10, you can just use the same numbers for the bottom rows as they were in the front. And so 10, 9, on 8, we're going to increase 1 stitch on either side, and then on row 4, we're going to increase a stitch on either side, and then you're done. You've got those 10 increases back in. So that's how I did that. It looks like this does not join up, and that's not actually true. When I put this on and I pin it, it fits just fine under my arm. It's just that in order to get my measurements correct on the mannequin, this top shoulder piece has to come out pretty far. My shoulders are not this big. But the other thing I wanted to show you, just walk you through the neckline real quick. So what I did is I worked 5 rows in white, even, and then here is actually where I joined. Sorry, it's the stitches can make the video blurry. There we go. And then I joined and I worked straight across. So 5 rows were worked even on this split. I worked another 5 rows even on this split, and then starting from that other side, I just worked straight across and just did a bunch of chain stitches to get the back of the neckline. And the way I figured out how many chain stitches I needed was I took the number of stitches I hadn't worked, which was 47 for me. And so 47. And then remember, each of these split panels started out at 40, but we decreased 10 stitches on either side. So I added 20 to 47, I got 67, and that is what I worked across the back of the neck to guarantee that the back of the piece would start out the same width as the front of the piece ended. So that's how all that happened. My next step is to finish the back of this, and then to seam up the sides so that I can start working on the sleeves. I am almost out of white yarn, but hopefully I have just enough to make it through this last back piece, which would be awesome. So I'll be back with that. Hey everybody, I am on the floor because I wanted to show you what the whole body of it looks like when you're done. Very excited. Couple of things I'm noticing while I'm looking at it. I literally just finished it. I think my gauge got a little tighter on this end. You'll kind of notice how my sides are a little more even, and this one, there's a little more give to them. I'm not really concerned about that. That's something that will be adjusted in seaming. I'm very happy to see when it's laid flat, the collar looks nice. Also, I ran the numbers, and I think so far we're looking at about 1,500 yards of yarn. Thread, because it is thread. So that's nice. I've been really striving to do big projects with large numbers, so that's nice. But the next thing I gotta do is seam up the sides of this so that then I can figure out exactly how I'm gonna put on the sleeves. Because I think I might do a set-in sleeve, which is a sleeve that you work separately and then sew into place. But I might get lazy and just attach it straight to the armhole. But let me show you where we're gonna put the sleeve. So I'm gonna grab it here in the middle of the neck and get all the, get the sides lined up here. I had more trouble with this earlier because apparently I don't know what sides look like when they line up. Oh, there it is. Okay, there we go. So I've got the sides lined up here, and I am going to be seaming up to this blue spot right here. So from the bottom edge to the seam. And that is because we did all of that work to shape that armhole, so this whole armhole is going to go on this top half here. And actually it's very funny because now that I've lined it up, I can definitely confirm that I worked these back stitches tighter than the front stitches, which you can tell. But that's okay, because I gave it a little bit of give, so I really think that when it sews together, it's not going to be a big deal. I think it'll drape nicely. And if not, you'll probably hear me swearing. But I'm going to go get those seams on and walk you through the sleeves when I get back. Hey everybody, we're back and we have a full bodice. This is very exciting. I seamed it up the sides like I said I was going to do, and I worked a slip stitch seam because I wanted to be sure that these stripes are going to match up properly, and I can do that more easily on a slip stitch seam than I can on a sewn seam. My sewing skills aren't quite as good. And so the next step, of course, is going to be to get the sleeves on this thing. And the big thing about the sleeves is, one, I need to know how long they're going to be. And two, I have to decide how much room there's going to be in the sleeve. And I will be going to the photo in a minute here to talk about that from that angle. But first, this is a really rough way to get a sleeve measurement, but it works. So I'm just tucking my measuring tape under where the seam's going to go, and then looking down my arm, and I am probably going to go to 21 and a half. Because after blocking and washing and everything, I think it will stretch out to hit me right where I want it on my wrist. And I'm not a big fan of having sleeves that go over my hands, so that's how I'm going to do that. And then, of course, it comes into, you know, how am I going to fit the sleeve and how am I going to pattern the sleeve. And to discuss that, I'm going to take the camera and walk it over to my computer. So please enjoy these various views of my carpet. Okay. Here we go. So this is our reference photo, of course, and I've decided what I'm going to do with the sleeves. I'm actually going to work directly off of the sleeve edge and not do a set-in sleeve, partially because I want to be able to control the fit under my arm because there's a bit of extra room there. And so what I'm probably going to do when I start the sleeve is work every other stitch space for the first few to pull in under the arm to get the fit, because this is clearly, you know, a sleeve with some room to it, but it's not super loose. And so I want kind of how the top looks, which is sort of a fitted looseness, if you will. And then also for my stripe pattern, I've come to the conclusion that the stripes are probably alternating from the stripes on the bodice, and I think this is going to be... Okay, we're back over with our reference photo, and a couple of things I want to note on my design choice is I mentioned doing a set-in sleeve, which would have been a sleeve that I would have made the sleeve separately and then sewn it into place, and I've decided not to do that, mostly out of laziness. Also because there's some extra space in my underarm portion right about where the decreases are, and I can go in if I just put the sleeve on from this shoulder point, I can edit out some of those extra stitches on the fly and get a better fit, because this is loose, but it's not huge. Whereas if I was to do it based on where my underarm stitches are right now, it would be huge. It would be kind of a balloon sleeve, which is not what I want. The other thing here was figuring out the pattern on these stripes, which I've mentioned before, and I have decided that these stripes are probably alternating the bodice stripes based on this being the best angle we have of the sleeve. The whitest part of the white piece here looks like it's about the same size as these two white sections, and so this is 10 rows. And then this is 5 rows, if you'll recall, and so this is 15, so I'm going to do 15, 4, 15, 4, all the way down, measuring as I go until I hit that 21 and a half inches to get the sleeve length I'm looking for. So that is my next step, and I will be back with you to see what happens after that. Hey everybody, it's Gail, and we have a sleeve! I'm very pleased with it. I think it lined up beautifully, according to sort of what I was seeing in the image. A couple of quick notes on it. I ended up not doing any decreases under the arms. I just picked up exactly at the top of the join and worked my way around, and it's a perfect fit. It's actually almost too snug in my bicep, but I'm ripped. What can you do? Just so you know, the pattern was 15 white and 4 blue, and I just worked down, like I said. And I actually ended up doing 20 rounds of white at the bottom, because you end on a white round, and I wanted to make sure it was long enough. And I said I didn't want it over my hands, and it ended up over my hands, but I can deal with that. That's not a big deal. So I'm out of thread again. Turns out it takes a lot of fucking white thread to make this thing. Yeah, like I'm basically out again. So I don't have enough to do the other sleeve tonight, which is good because my hands do need the rest. I mean, I'm using a hook that's got a good size handle on it, but my tendons and my thumbs are completely messed up right now. So I'm going to go take a break. And the next time you see me, I will have the other sleeve done, and I will have also finished off the collar, which will be a very simple process that I'm not going to bore you with the video for. So next time you see me, we're going to be done. Hey everybody, it's done! Very excited. That first sleeve came out just beautifully. I think I showed you guys the first sleeve. I did. Okay. It's been a few days. So the second sleeve came out just as nicely, and the collar bit here I'm very proud of. Quick note, I did do some decreases on sort of the back corner, just to pull those shoulder seams up so that the seam on the shoulder is sitting more on my shoulder, and that's also what brought the cuff up to where I wanted it. So my measurements were correct once I got the neckline where I wanted it. The only thing that I'm really kind of mad on is the fact that this blue got pulled up a little bit by the collar, but like, it's finished, it fits, I'm wearing it out to dinner. I will see you guys for the next episode. And remember, if you enjoy what I'm doing here, like, subscribe, share, and I do have a Patreon if you want to keep me in yarn. So all the Patreon link is at the end of this video and also down in the basement, along with some other places you can find me on the internet. So I'll see y'all later.